morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this regular call meeting of Temple City Council for December 17th. Please rise. Father Tom Chamberlain, the foundation father of the church, and the Queen Peterson of the EBC will lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Let us pray. Oh God, our Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon these men and women who are serving as leaders on our City Council. We pray that today in this meeting you give them wisdom, knowledge, good judgment, and courage. Make the decisions that are for the common good of our people. Help them to truly listen and understand the matters at hand so that they make the best decisions which will help our community. Pray for all of those who are present here who will be involved in this meeting, anyone who will be making presentations, that they may make them clearly, that they truly may also sincerely present their cause or their concerns so that all may be attended according to your will. And all of this we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time to be here with us this evening. Let me just kind of lay out tonight's agenda a little bit. The first thing we're going to do is have a couple of reports and presentations, and then we'll go into the public comment period. And I see a number of you have signed up to speak on the quarry issue under the public comment section. We are scheduled to have a public hearing for the quarry. It's the last item on tonight's agenda. It's required because it was published as a public hearing, but some of you may have seen, others may have heard, and some of you may not know that the applicant for the zoning change and for the conditional use permit has withdrawn his request and withdrawn his application. You are still welcome to speak this evening. You can speak early on in the public comment period on the sheet that you signed up. During that portion of the meeting, we take the comments. There is no discussion, and your comments are going to be limited to 3 minutes since there's a number of you that are signed up to speak, so it's strictly going to be one way. During the public comment session, you could come up and we could dialogue. You can ask questions if it's appropriate for us to respond or answer you if there's something we know. We can do that during that portion of the meeting. So it is your call, your choice. We are here for you. Let me just say to each of you who may have contacted us either by email or by phone call over the last several weeks as this item came to us, we appreciate your input, we appreciate your involvement, and thank you for contacting us. I mean, that's the way government's supposed to work. Items come out there, some of them are pretty routine, some of them might be contentious, but regardless of how it comes, the fact that those of you who got involved and are here tonight are involved, we do appreciate that. That is why we are here, and thank you for that participation. So with that said, we're going to move into a couple of presentations right now, and then I'll call for the public comments, and again, I'll call on you by name if you signed up to speak here, and you are welcome to stay with us this evening as long as you would like, or if knowing now that the item has been pulled from the agenda because of the fact that the applicant withdrew his application, you are welcome to leave or stay at your discretion. And so, but it will be the last item on the agenda. The public hearing will be the last item on the agenda tonight. So I want to lay that out for you because there are many of you that are here with that concern tonight. So that said, our next item on the agenda is a presentation from representatives of the Temple Mall to the City of Temple and the CPR Task Force regarding proceeds collected from the Temple Mall Save a Life Day silent auction and 5K Save a Life race. And we have Drs. Robin and Pat Smith and Trish Lee. Doctors Robin and Pat Smith are with Save Life and CPR Anytime. They've done a great job in our community of bringing that to our attention. And Trish Lee and her assistant manager, they are here. Marketing director, I'm sorry. Lisa, thank you, Lisa. They are here with us to make a presentation. So I will turn that over. Let me give you a microphone since we are recording this to be played at a later time. And I give that to you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Recently we held a 5K Race to Save a Life Day event to benefit the efforts of the Temple CPR Task Force. For that day and all of our efforts and all of our supporting sponsors, we raised a total of $1,500 $1,505.57, and we would like to present that on behalf of Temple Mall to the Temple CPR Task Force at this time. We would also like to thank the Temple CPR Task Force in the City of Temple for allowing Temple Mall to assist in your efforts, and we support you and will continue to support you. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Sometimes people kind of appear out of the woodwork and do absolutely outstanding work to support a cause. Lisa Perez is one of those people that really worked hard, took this on her shoulders, made this race happen, made the silent auction happen, made the health fair happen, and lost a lot of sleep in the process. Those of us who are volunteers on the CPR Task Force, and it is a volunteer organization, reached into our own pockets and collected just a few bucks that we wanted to pass on to you in the form of a gift certificate as our appreciation for what you have done for us.
Thank you so much.
Take just a moment to make this a photo op.
Go right ahead.
We'll take a picture.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Finally, again, the cooperation and help of the Temple Mall, the CPR Task Force will be out there at a kiosk tomorrow and Saturday from 10 in the morning till 8 in the evening, making the CPR kits for family and friends available to any of you who would like to get them. The underwriters of this have allowed us to lower the cost to $15 per kit. And you can each, I'm talking to all of you, make this as a wonderful Christmas gift to your families. What would be a better gift than to spend $15 and teach your family how to save your own life? Give that some thought. We hope to see you out at the mall. I'm going to ask that the folks up here representing our city and city staff each take one of these, which is simply a promotional literature that describes what we'll be doing at the Temple Mall tomorrow and on Saturday. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, that's excellent. Well, Dr. Smith, Rob, and Pat, thank you very much for your leadership in our community. Thanks to Temple Mall and to Lisa and Trish. We really appreciate your involvement in doing this. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation from the city of Killeen to the city of Temple. David, this is your item.
I'll be happy to introduce the item, and I would like to ask a couple of folks to come forward, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know, Kevin also. But let me give a little bit of background, and then we'll get folks centered around the dais there. This past October, for the week of October 13th, for 4 days, I believe, we had some 87 City of Temple employees. I'm going to be happy to share the mic here in just a moment with Assistant City Manager Glenn Morrison from Killeen, and he can give you some background from the Killeen perspective. But Temple and Killeen had, in essence, what was a corporate games, a great event. Again, 87 employees on our side. 23 different departments and divisions across the city participated from those 87 employees.
8 events covering those 4 days that week. Just outstanding participation on our part and really good sportsmanship across the board. We had a variety of events, and I'll let maybe Kevin can talk a little bit about some of the specific events and the people that were involved in that. But we really had a good time. In addition to that, it folded very, very nicely into our wellness program and our wellness efforts that we have been undertaking for the past several years, trying to encourage, incentivize, reward our employees for getting active, being healthy, and making good choices in lifestyles. And so it was just a great event. Happy to see it get started again. I think we did it years and years ago, so we're happy to see that fire get relit. And tonight, what we were going to do, and again, I'll ask Kevin to kind of come forward and give a little bit more, if he can just real briefly anyway, tell us about the number of events and anything else I left out or misstated in terms of the Centex, what we call the Centex Cup and the Centex Games. And then I'd also like to invite Mr. Morrison to come forward, who is here. I understand Mr. Green took violently ill today and could not be here this evening. He'll hear from me later about that. But that Mr. Morrison is here representing the City of Killeen. Certainly appreciate him being here. And Brett Williams is also here. I'm not sure what Brett's title is these days, but Glenn can fill us in on that also. But I'd like to give him an opportunity to say a few words from Killeen also. And then we have a cup to present, accept, and a photo op, and then the games will be on for next year. Okay. Kevin.
Yeah, I think you're right. Back in 2007, the grassroots effort started with a golf competition between the two cities, and it grew from there. That was really well received. And back in the late October or November of 2008, we started figuring out, okay, what else can we offer to try to get as many employees from both cities to participate. We didn't want to get too many the first year, and we didn't want to get too few, but the two cities, to me, worked really, really well together. We had several brainstorming meetings, come up with the rules, what activities, and we did come up with the 8, and it was from horseshoes to billiards, table tennis, softball. I can tell you that all the employees that came over were very, very nice people, good workers. I think they got along really well. It was nice to see competition between two cities. We had competition, but it was also friendly. We sat down, we chatted before and chatted afterwards. I know we tried to get the City of Harper Heights involved this year and couldn't pull it off, but they did express interest in making it a trifecta for next year. And so we have maybe 3 cities trying to do this. And so it's really well. I mean, it fits well, like David said, into our wellness program. Anyway, I know I want to just personally take some time to Tracy. I'm standing up here to take a limelight, but Tracy Kosacek, which one of our coordinators, actually worked with Killeen the most and really did all the grassroots stuff and pulled it off. So if anything looks great, it's because of her, and she does deserve the credit. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel on it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Mayor Jones, City Council, Mr. Blackburn, staff. It's a bittersweet day for us to be here today, but I am proud to represent the employees of the City of Killeen. I want to echo some of the comments. It was a great competition, a lot of fun. We really look forward to the years to come. Also, I want to thank Brett Williams, who's our Director of Parks and Recreation. Also, Ryan Long, who's one of our recreation specialists there with the City of Killeen. And Ryan was our Tracy. He was doing everything behind the scenes. As we know, Parks and Rec does each and every day, work behind the scenes to make sure our events are very, very successful. Before we do the presentation, Mayor Hancock and our City Council and City Manager Connie Green want to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and all the citizens of the City of Temple. With that said, we can present the cup. We may have a few rules that we want to enact. I think we're talking about steroid testing for City of Temple and some other things, but we'll talk about that as we work through the competition next year. But it is our pleasure to present this year's Challenge Cup to the City of Temple employees and wish them all the best, and we will definitely be back. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and thank you, Brett, and all the Clean employees who participated. I just echo the words again. Great competition. I think next year we'll see a whole lot more employees from both sides, and maybe more than one city when we participate. Really well received. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and please carry our best wishes back to the mayor and the council and county for a great holiday season. Thanks to all of you for taking the time to come this evening. It's our pleasure. Thanks. Good night.
And a speedy recovery, Mr. Green.
Well, just another sign that we work hard, but we can play hard too. So, thanks, David, for leading that. And that'll be a lot of fun in the years to come. Next item on the agenda, item 4, is to receive an annual report on the operations of the Temple Economic Development Corporation from Mr. Lee Peterson, who is our president. And while he's coming up, we also have members of our board that are here, and I'll soon you'll introduce them. So if so, then I'll...
If I can remember who they are, I'll give it a go.
All right. Lee, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem Luna, Councilman Janzak, Tracy, David, Trudy, Fladette, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. I do have the people who actually run this corporation, some of them in the audience, and I wonder if they'd all stand, and I'll do my very best to try to introduce those folks. Greg Rhodes, Molly Moons, and Charlie Belson is with EBCO. Bob Browder, we're not sure what Bob does. He's kind of an interesting guy. He kind of moves around Temple, some kind of a consulting firm. Perry Cloud with Cloud Construction, and Barbara Boson with Temple Belton Housing Authority. Also, a couple of folks who work for me, Jonathan Scott, our Director of Business Development. Jonathan, hold up your hand up. And Mary Poche, our Director of Marketing. These are the... Rick, our Workforce Development Director, I forgot you 5 times, so I got you today. These are the folks who really do the work, and the Board of Directors really runs this corporation and makes it work, and all of the credit for what happens goes to them. And as I start this, I want everyone to know that we have an interesting thing in Temple, Texas, and in Temple, Texas, we have a group called Team Temple. And if you live in Temple, and you're part of Temple, and you're part of helping Temple grow, you are part of Team Temple. And so as I talk tonight about things that have happened, I want you to understand that there are lots of players and lots of moving parts. I'm the sucker who gets to stand up here and talk about it, but there are lots of people who are involved. The City of Temple, the Reinvestment Zone, Temple College, Temple ISD, and I could go on and on and on. Without all of those players, the things that are occurring in our economic development program just wouldn't happen in Temple. We believe it is a secret key to the reason things can happen here, because of the way everyone works together to make things happen. So it's not only Temple Economic Development Corporation, but lots of other folks. The contract that we have with the city says we'll talk about goals and objectives, we'll give an incentive summary, and we will talk about the success or the lack thereof in meeting the city's guidelines. The Board of Directors has a vision and a mission. They would like Temple to be the best place to do business in Texas and the South. Our mission is to strengthen relationships, build partnerships, and provide solutions that cause entities to choose Temple. The Board of Directors' 5-year objectives. We okay?
We're good. It's doing its own thing.
Great. Create and maintain high-quality jobs and businesses in Temple. Be a leader and a catalyst for directed economic development and growth within the Temple community. Manage the pipeline of new opportunities for the city's targeted industries. Create tactics and tools to guide effective and efficient TEDC operations. Achieve measurable economic development objectives and report progress against these objectives annually to the board. We do that a little more often, like every month. Communicate effectively and regularly with Team Temple, and whenever possible and appropriate, close the deal, and that one appears to be quite important to them. Milken Institute study for 2009. The Milken Institute has a study called the Best Performing Cities Index. The Best Performing Cities Index was designed to measure objectively which U.S. metropolitan areas are being most successful in terms of job creation, retention, the quality of jobs being produced, and the overall economic performance. Specifically, it pinpoints where jobs are being created and maintained, where wages and salaries are increasing, and where economies and businesses are growing and thriving. In 2008, Killeen, Temple, Fort Hood MSA was number 13. In 2009, we are number 2 in the nation, right behind Austin, Texas. We received that designation because of new job creation and our salary and wage growth. We have 18 industrial expansions in the last 4 years, 5 expansions in 2009, new businesses to begin construction in 2010 and 11, Panda Energy, Fikes Wholesale, and Northland Products. This is my favorite slide. It shows a little bit of the things that have occurred in Temple over the last 3 or 4 years. We have metrics, variables to track and measure success. New jobs created, new capital investment, increase in average wages, increase in Temple's tax revenue, and increase in the number of startups. Our work with startups is through the Temple Business Incubator, and they're doing a wonderful job in growing and starting businesses, and we're very pleased with our commitment to the incubator, as you also as a city are a partner in that as well. Our performance measures for 2009, as you can imagine, are not as stellar as we'd like to have those. The performance factors are annual percentage growth in sales tax, annual percentage growth in net new jobs, annual percentage growth for the personal income, and annual growth in taxable real and personal property. And if you look at what's called the baseline numbers, those are actually a running average numbers where every year, the last year drops off and the new year comes on, so it's a 10-year current average. The average in annual growth in sales tax has been about 4.18%. This year that was down 0.307%, so you all need to get out and shop for Christmas, if you would, please. The annual growth in net new jobs is one where we did extremely well compared to the national average. We're at about 0.6% on our 10-year average. We're at 1.45% for 2009. Personal income has been going up well in Central Texas, 6.01%. This year we're a little under that at 3.39%. And the annual percentage growth in taxable real and personal property, we've been hitting about 5.6%, and this year we're at 3.1%. Expansions and recruitment. Expansions, Acer, Fikes Wholesale, Horny Toad Harley-Davidson, Mars Pet Care, McLean Advanced Technologies, and Specialty Pharmacy, Kim, which is one of yours that you worked so hard on. Where are you? In 2009, we provided about $555,000 in economic incentives. Those incentives went to all existing companies, a couple for infrastructure, and a couple in job creation. This year, in our recruitment effort, we have had touch with about 200 companies. That touch with 200 companies comes about by our trade show visits, by us meeting people and providing them information about Temple, Texas. Those 200 inquiries resulted in us putting together 27 proposals to do business in Temple, and 11 of those companies came to us to visit the community. Excitement about HEB's construction of a 450,000 square foot warehouse in the rail park at Central Point. And we are continuing to work with Panda Energy. Our water contract has just been negotiated, and we're working today actually on some work for Panda Energy that will go in the Southeast Park. Our development is based on recognition of Temple's 5-year objectives and recognition of market conditions. We do a tremendous amount of research. We come up with a methodology. We put in a plan of action, and we go to work. We have something new this year that we have not had before. We call it resource recruitment. And again, this is something that lots of folks were involved in. A company called Patriot Rail now has an operation in Temple called the Temple and Central Texas Railroad short line to provide switching opportunities in our rail park. They also will work very closely with our existing industry and try to provide more transportation alternatives, and we think they're a great liaison for us. They have about 3,000 customers, some of which may choose to be located in Temple, Texas. Moving forward, in 2010, we are going to complete our marketing plan. The balance of year 3 through 5, we're going to readdress the marketing plan in years 5 to 10 so we can continue to look out. We're going to ask the Board of Directors to readjust their vision, mission, and objectives as needed. And I want to again mention Team Temple. We believe Team Temple to be the key to success in this community. We are going to work very hard to bring them closer together and actually begin to write some best practices for a community that all works together. Mayor and Council, thank you for your support. I want you to know that without you, we could not do what we do. We appreciate you very much, and I will try to answer any questions that I may, except for David Blackburn. Actually, Jonathan is going to answer all the questions.
Great. Lee, thank you very much. Council, okay, questions for Mr. Peterson? EBC. You covered it well, sir.
Thank you very much.
Excellent year. Thank you for your leadership, for the team that you put together, Jonathan and Mary. Cindy, who's not here, great staff. Tyler's just awesome, and a terrific board of directors that work hard, like you say, when we have monthly meetings where we receive information, but you also receive information from them as well. There's a lot of good exchange that goes on in that meeting, and the interface between that team and the Bioscience District, Temple College, the county. I mean, it's a very broad team that works.
City staff, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that this afternoon at length, so, but great job, Lee. Thank you for an awesome year, and congratulations on 5 years in Temple.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the opportunity for public comment. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may sign up to do so prior to the meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. No discussion or final action will be taken by the council at this time. Again, I think everyone that signed up to speak is here to speak on the quarry. I'll read your name off. If you wish to come up at this time, just fine. Remember, 3 minutes, and we will not have any dialogue. I'll thank you for your comments, and that'll be the extent of it. If you wish, you can wait till the end of the meeting, at which point you have a little bit more latitude, but again, there's no action to be taken tonight on the issue itself. The applicant has withdrawn his request for the zoning change and for the conditional use permit. So I'll start with Mr. Fine.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
My name is Stuart Fine. I live at 5100 Cedar Ridge Park Road, Temple, Texas. Tonight I kind of feel like I'm preaching to the choir since the mining company is not here. Somehow this needs to be brought to a final conclusion. This thing looks like it's just going to drag out forever and ever and ever. There's got to be a way to bring it to a final conclusion. The fact that the Mine Service Limited has withdrawn their request is good news, and we're thrilled about that. However, this goes to the heart of who these people are. We do not trust their integrity and believe that at some point in time they will submit a new request as they've done in the past. Mr. Tim Dolan, Temple Planning Director, told the Telegram Mine Services would have to come up with a different plan configuration for the city's consideration. The current plan apparently is unacceptable to them. We wish to make it crystal clear that mining services or anyone else wishing to reopen that old quarry, that the number of people opposing that quarry grows stronger each time this issue comes up. We will oppose it with such tenacity as to set a new standard within the city of Temple in oppositions. You've heard, I'm sure you've heard the statement, "Let sleeping dogs lie." This, I think, is in the quarry, in the paper. The quarry sleeps. Well, they have woken the choir dogs. And I'll assure you that we will be on continuous vigilance toward anything that involves that quarry. That's all I have to say. I appreciate you having the time to make those comments. But as I say, we are going to be on guard continuously about this. This thing has got to be brought to an end somehow or another. I don't know how. Maybe somebody knows and can help me or work with you or whatever it is to do what's necessary to bring this thing to an end. We don't need a quarry inside the city limits of Temple. It's just, you're not allowed to have hog pens or chickens or anything like that. And these are a nuisance to your neighbors. So is this quarry.
Thank you, Mr. Fine. Apologize, I can't make out the complete last name of the individual. Dwayne A.
I'll defer to the background.
All right, sir. Mr. Robert Borg?
I'll pass. For now.
Okay, sir. John Connor? Okay. J.S. Young? Do I have?
I'm going to pass, Joe. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. or Mrs. Boniface?
We're going to pass it this time, sir.
Okay, great. Very good. And we have Mr. James Stott.
Thank you, council, staff. 2009 years ago, a week short, a great event took place. Arduous journey in the birth of a special little boy. What precipitated that journey was a census. And I'm here to talk to you about that, not only that census, but the one we're going to have next year. I've been fortunate to be asked to serve on a committee that's going to promote it. I'm happy to do it, and I think it's very important. The census back then was quite difficult. Fortunately, over the past 2009 years, it's become a little bit more easier to comply with the requirements. And everybody counts in this census. It counts a lot towards the health and the well-being of Temple, because every head that's counted in some form means financial support from the federal government and tax dollars to the school systems, to all of the departments of the city. And every time we get miscounted or we don't get a head counted, we lose $1. Probably more than that, but you can think of it that way. I would ask that when you get your application next year, that you fill it out. It's 10 easy questions, much easier than taking a journey to Bethlehem and having a baby. Neither of those you have to do. All you have to do is fill out 10 questions and return it. I think it's postage paid, so it's just all you have to do is fill it out and send it back in. It will help the city tremendously. It will help your neighbors tremendously. It will help all of us, the children, the schools, everything that Temple needs to function requires money, and it relates directly to money. I was told in the first meeting we had that every application that's not turned in, somebody will come knock on your door. And it costs an average of $16,000 per application for us to come collect those things. So you encourage your people that are around you to please fill it out and send it back in. Make it easy on everybody, and that way we won't have to send people to knock on your door and ask for your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stott. Appreciate your work. That concludes our public comment portion this evening. And next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. All items listed under this section, consent, are considered to be routine by the City Council, and they may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of a council member, and it will be considered separately. Council, this is item 5, and it consists of items A through Q tonight. Are there any items that you wish to be removed from the consent agenda? And if not, I'll entertain a motion on item 5.
Motion to approve paragraph 5, items A through Q.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? There being none, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember James.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lemon. Aye. Mayor Kendall.
Aye. On to the regular agenda items. Item 6 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a zoning change request from General Retail District to Planned Development General Retail District on the south 50 feet of Lot 1, Block 2, Keaton Addition, located at 803 North General Bruce Drive. Mr. Magley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for a billboard, or AKA an off-premise sign. The applicant is Lamar Advertising, acting in place of the landowner Charles Altman. The property has frontage on I-35 or General Bruce Drive. They're requesting a plan development in order to erect a billboard. As I said, the property currently is zoned general retail, so the additional plan development designation on the property, the main point of it would be to allow the billboard. The property currently has an auto sales business on it, as you can see on the screen. This is one of several plan development billboard proposals in recent years, and although staff is recommending approval, I just remind the council to always consider the appropriateness of the location for this and any other plan developments in redevelopment. Billboards are allowed by right in commercial, light industrial, and heavy industrial. They're allowed on the loop or I-35 only. New billboards are. They're to be 672 square feet in area and 42 and a half feet tall, and to be set back at least 20 feet from the road frontage that they have. The submitted site development plan meets or exceeds all of these requirements. It exceeds the setback requirement, as I'll point out in a moment. This is an aerial of the subject property with yellow hatch marks on it. There's a vacant motorcycle sales building to the west across I-35, the old Harley-Davidson. There's what appeared to be from just tax roll research, a vacant auto repair or some type of business such as that just to the north that you can see in the upper right. There's a building material sales that specializes in plumbing, it appears, just to the south, and then there's vacant land to the east, as you can see in the lower right screen. This is, a map showing nearby billboards. To the north, the closest billboard is 2,985 feet away, and to the south, the closest other billboard is 3,690 square feet away. The separation standards for I-35 in the zoning ordinance is 1,500 square feet. The spacing standard, it complies with the spacing standards. There's a billboard across I-35 just 450 feet away, but the spacing standards in the billboard section of the zoning ordinance do not apply to signs that are across I-35 or across the loop from the proposed site. There is a site 785 feet to the north that was approved for commercial zoning in 2008. It was case ZFY 0841, as you can see on the screen. That was approved for a billboard, but no permit either from TxDOT nor from the city has been applied for or obtained for that site. If this plan development is approved and the applicant applies for and receives the required permits, then no billboard would be allowed on the site to the north, the 785 feet away site that you can see on the screen. This is the site development plan for the property. You can see that the billboard is circled in red on the screen. It's 25 feet away from the General Bruce Drive frontage as opposed to 20, so it exceeds that, and then all of the other standards are met for this plan.
This is just an aerial showing the property and a superimposed image of the sign location once again. This slide shows the zoning for the area. It's, of course, general retail, light industrial, and commercial along the interstate. The future land use and character map designates this property auto, urban, commercial, so the request complies with the future land use and character map. There's an 8-inch water line serving the property. Not that that would really matter for a billboard, but there is public infrastructure in place for the property. The I-35 is designated an expressway on the thoroughfare plan, so the request also complies with that portion of the comprehensive plan. The purpose of this plan development would avoid the intense uses normally allowed in the C commercial zoning district to occur in the I-35 corridor, since you have the general retail as the base with the extra added on allowed use of a billboard that goes along with the plan development designation. Just a reminder, general retail uses include most retail, gas stations, restaurant, things of that nature. In accordance with state law, 4 notices were mailed out to surrounding property owners within 200 feet of the property. None were returned in agreement and none were returned in disagreement. At its December 8th, 2009 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 in favor of the staff recommendation, which was approval of Plan Development Application ZFY 1008, including the binding site development plan with the stipulations that are shown on the screen, and those are that the use and development standards of the property conform to the general retail zoning district, that in addition to those uses in general retail, that a off-premise sign is allowed, that if there's any conflict between the text of the plan development ordinance and the plan development or the development plan drawing, then the stricter standard applies, and then that all standards in the zoning ordinance apply unless they're specifically modified by the plan development drawing. And that's not the case for this particular submittal, but it's always good to just have your bases covered in those respects for guarding against conflicts. At this point, I can answer any questions that the council might have for this case.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mabry. Council, questions on this item for staff prior to the public hearing? Mr. Janczak?
You had indicated early in your presentation that there had been some earlier applications. Was that for this same site?
No, sir. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. On this, the aerial, there's a yellow box with sort of a call-out box. The property that had it was a rezoning that they applied for in 2008, and the intent of that rezoning for the commercial zoning district was to eventually have a billboard on the property. It's the Texaco gas station on that piece of the frontage road. They have not submitted a TxDOT application form for a billboard for the city to sign off on, and they have not submitted a sign permit, which would normally be the next step for the city to review and potentially approve. I'm just pointing out that if this plan development is approved and then Lamar does their part of applying for the state and local permits, then the spacing standards of 1,500 feet would then prevent this property from having a billboard on it.
Okay. One property or the other?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There wouldn't be a billboard on both properties.
Was that a Lamar application for the other one?
The rezoning was just on the part of the property owner.
Okay.
But there have been no earlier applications for this particular location?
For this one, for this particular plan development, no.
That's correct. Okay, this is the first time? Okay.
Correct.
Second question that I have, the planning and zoning recommendations, are they included in your proposed ordinance?
Yes, sir. Each of those 4 conditions will be part of the ordinance that grants the plan development.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Janczak.
There being none, this item requires a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak before the council on this item, please come forward and state your name and address for the records prior to making your comments.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Teresa Smith, and I am the real estate manager for Lamar Advertising. My address is 11209 Inverness in Belton. I just want to personally thank Brian. That's an awesome presentation. You certainly went above and beyond on all the information that I supplied. I concur with the most conservative approach is going through the P&Z and having just a planned development for this property rather than having it zoned commercial or light industrial, because therefore it does open it up for other items to be provided of that piece of property. So we're just asking for the most conservative approach just to allow for the billboard to be placed there. This site does meet city standards, and it also meets the state requirements, and so we're just asking for the city council to approve this. I don't know if y'all have any questions for me. I think you were inquiring, Mr. Danzig, about the other location.
No, it was just a statement that Brian had made earlier in his presentation about other applications, and that cleared it up.
Okay.
Will this billboard be lighted?
Yes, sir, it will be illuminated. It's going to also provide additional security for the property owner there as well, just to help keep his property illuminated. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Council, your pleasure on the first reading of the ordinance.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Motion is second. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Jansen?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Linda?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Next item is first reading of the public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit request for an off-premise consumption package store at the Bird Creek Crossing subdivision, Lot 1, Suite A, 182, a 15,723 square foot lease area. Mr. Dolan.
Again, Mayor and Council, this is a public hearing as part of the first reading this evening. The background for the proposed use is a package store that would be located in the Bird Creek Mall's lease space A182. To provide some background, the voters in the City of Temple approved an election on November the 5th, which the county canvassed the votes November the 16th for the idea of having package stores inside the city limits. This property is zoned in planned development commercial zoning district, and to remind the council that the conditional use permit is required in the general retail and commercial and also the central area districts. This site plan that you'll see conforms to the CUP regulations. This will be a front entry and inside approach only. There will not be any other type of ingress, egress to the store. The parking is sufficient for the site, and also, if you can remember some of the regulations regarding the dark sky lights, the parking lot lights already are there. The 63 parking spaces required for the 15,723 square foot area is existing on the shopping center area. This shows the aerial overview for the proposed location, essentially at the western end cap of the lease area. The lots that are shown clockwise from the north to the south, to the east, and to the west shows the parking lot area to the north. To the south, you'll see some more, essentially what would be employee parking behind the facility in the landscape area. The area to the west is the Encore facility, and that's actually the only response that was sent out to the property owners there, and then you also have the shopping center to the west. The future land use and character plan shows this area for our urban residentials for its conformance to the package store for the future land use and character plan. The thoroughfare plan and also the availability of public facilities are also met because the access easements that knit together for the access to I-35 conform to the thoroughfare plan, and also the availability of public facilities shows the existing sewer and water sufficient for the shopping center development. Only one notice was mailed as stated to the Encore development. It was not responded to, so we did not receive any responses according to this case. This is the development site plan that will be adopted as part of the ordinance. The red oval near the top of the plan shows the location for the proposed facility for the package store. At its December 8th meeting, by a unanimous vote, the Plan and Zoning Commission recommended approval for the CUP for the package store at Bird Creek Mall, since the request conforms to the future land use and character plan map. The request complies with the third floor plan, also the regulated public facilities for the site. The site plan which you just reviewed will be part of Exhibit A, and the applicant also concurs with all the conditions of the ordinance as written. The applicant's representative is also available this evening to answer questions when you open your public hearing. And I'm happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. Council, questions for staff? There being none, this item requires a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak before the council on this item, please come forward and state your name and address for the record prior to making your comments. Seeing no one wishing to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the first reading of the ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit for off-premise consumption package store. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Jansak?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Item 8 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with Georgetown Railroad for the purchase of approximately 6.2 miles of railroad right-of-way located in southeast Temple. Ms. Gardner?
Good evening. I'm here to talk to you about the potential acquisition of the Georgetown Railroad's easements. We've discussed this previously in executive session, but I'll give a little rundown of some of the major points. The Georgetown Railroad, we're only going to be acquiring a portion of it. It's 6.2 miles. It's a spur that runs from roughly about 6th Avenue and I-35 in Belton through, the majority of it is in South Temple, and ends at the Union Pacific Railroad in East Temple. And this portion is solely cut off from everything else. It dead ends right there at the I-35 corridor. This railroad is owned by the Texas Crushed Stone business in Georgetown, and originally was part of a spur off of Union Pacific that at one time would bring goods and services into Belton. Texas Crushed Stone is owned since about 1980. As I said, the existing spur is about 6.2 miles. 4 miles of this is within the City of Temple city limits, and 2 miles is within the City of Belton city limits. The right-of-way that we'll be acquiring is generally about 100 feet wide. The line itself is in poor condition. Anyone who were to purchase this railroad would have to do a lot of, and expect to use it as a railroad, would have to do a lot of updating to the rail itself. And the easement that Georgetown Railroad holds is for railroad purposes itself. The purpose of acquiring this easement is for the easement of a water line. The Public Works has a very high priority improvement to the South Temple water system. By using this easement, we will be able to construct a 24-inch pipeline from the water plant on 31st Street. It's approximately 41,000 linear feet, and by purchasing the Georgetown Railroad right-of-way, we will be accomplishing the acquisition of about 9,000 linear feet of easements, roughly 1/4 of the easements necessary to go ahead and put that water line in. A secondary use would be the use for the hike and bike trails. There's a wonderful federal program called the Rails to Trails program. You can bank your railroad into their program, use it as a hike and bike trail until, and if the federal government ever thinks that it needs to once again become a railroad. So it'd be a wonderful opportunity. Much of it is in a very natural state due to the fact that it has been used as a railroad and not been used in the past 10 to 15 years. And it would be our longest trail. Also, it would hopefully provide for some connection to other cities in the future. So the purchase process that we're looking into is to enter into agreement with Georgetown Railroad to buy the railroad, perform our due diligence, and we have 90 days to close on the railroad. The first 60 would be to perform our due diligence. Patriot, our rail line operator of the Central and Temple and Central Texas Railroad would be handling the exempt filing for the city, which would relieve the city of being the common carrier. Moving forward, Georgetown Railroad would assign to the city all of the easements and also include with that a bill of sale for all of the improvements located along the railroad, although no engines included. And then the final step would be to transfer the rights and obligations of the Georgetown Railroad to the city. So moving forward, if council were to approve the execution of this purchase agreement, the city will execute this agreement and close on the property, as I said, within 90 days. The initial 60 days, we will do our due diligence, including a Phase 1 environmental assessment. And should that due diligence bring back anything that we are not expecting to see, we do have the right to step out of this contract and receive our earnest money back. And we are prepared to award a contract for the Phase 1 should you authorize this contract. And I'm willing to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, questions on this presentation, this item? There being none, council will consider a motion for adopting the resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with Georgetown Railroad for the purchase of the said railroad as described by Ms. Gardner-Cox.
Well, we've been trying to do this for a number of years, and I will predict that history will show that this will be a great asset to the city of Temple, and I'm pleased to offer the motion that we authorize this item.
Thank you, Mr. Janczak. And a second. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Jansen.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Luna.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye. Ms. Gardner-Cox, thank you for your work on this and the presentation. I know you've done a lot on this. Thank you. And thanks to Trudy and the rest of the staff. Item 9 is consider adopting a resolution designating the chair of the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone Board of Directors for 2010. The Temple City Council appoints that director, the chairman, of the board each year. Mr. Bob Browder has been serving since this past fall when we appointed him when the previous chair's term expired, and it is my recommendation that we make a motion to continue Mr. Browder in that position and appoint him as chair of the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 1. Could I have a motion to appoint Mr. Browder, please?
I move to appoint Mr. Browder to this position. Is it a reappointment or?
It is. It's an appointment to the position for the 2010 year.
For the 2010 year.
Right. Second. We have a motion and a second for the appointment of Bob Browder as chair of the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone number 1. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Jansen.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Luna.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye. Item 10 and 11 regarding the same area. It's first reading and public hearings to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a zoning change request from the Agricultural District to Light Industrial District on 19.5 acres situated in the McCampbell Survey, abstract number 529, and the Elias Tuttle Survey, abstract number 835, Bell County, located in the vicinity of the State Highway 36 and North State Highway 317 intersection. And then item 11 is a first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance for a conditional use permit for mining and mining storage on 123.2 acres, that tract of land located in the vicinity of the southwest corner of State Highway 36, Airport Road, and North State Highway 317, out of the McCampbell Langley Survey, abstract number 529, the Daniel Meadows Survey, abstract number 577, the Elias Tuttle Survey, abstract number 835 in Bell County, Texas. This item, I don't believe, needs a presentation. I believe, Mr. Dolan, if I understand it correctly, the applicant has withdrawn their request for the zoning change and for the conditional use permit. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct. The slide to your left or your right shows actually the email message that was received yesterday afternoon, a little bit after 3 p.m., as the applicant stating his request to withdraw.
Great. Thank you very much. However, these items were posted for a public hearing, and as such, we are required to hold the public hearing. And so I will declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak before the council on this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record prior to making your comments. And you can take them in the order I called you earlier, or if you hadn't signed up, you're still welcome to come up and speak at this time. So please come forward as you wish. and the rules of engagement are a little different. We don't have the time limit specifically set, but if we get too long-winded, I'm going to have to cut you off, but otherwise, and we can also dialogue. If you have a question and we can answer it, we'll be glad to try and do so. Good evening, sir.
Robert Boop, I live at 10990 West Highway 36. I come to comment tonight to thank Mr. Dolan and the Planning Commission for the Planning Committee for the help and courtesy that he has showed me for the last year and a half while I've been involved in this. I failed to recognize him last time I was here, and I want to make it right. I want to commend the Planning and Zoning Commission for the vote that they made last week. I know it was a tough decision for them, but I think it was the best thing for the city of Temple and for the county. It was especially good for me, personally. Temple has made a lot of progress in the years since I left high school here, and it's improved greatly. It has wonderful trails, as you just talking about your bike, and the hiking trails receives awards, and we just want to continue that development in our area, that it will be a family-oriented area with access to the lake, and to ask y'all to try to find some way to finalize the situation, one way or the other, preferably my way. So I do thank you for the opportunity, and I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, that serve on the council. I know it's not an easy job, you catch a lot of flack, and you may catch some more from me, but I do appreciate you serving us and the work that y'all do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. I'm glad you clarified the direction you wanted us to go on that. Thank you for taking the time to be here, for all of your work and your work with our staff, so we appreciate it a great deal. Anyone else wish to come forward? Yes, sir?
I wouldn't want to comment, but I appreciate all the support that these people have given and those that haven't showed up. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir. Thank you for being here and your work. Anyone else wishing to speak? See no one else wishing, just come forward, sir.
My name is James Young. I live at 1292 Cedar Oak Circle. I'm new to the city. I just moved in about last September. And if I'd known that this rock quarry was going in, I would not have bought the house that I bought. I would have moved out. I sincerely hope that y'all have the citizens of the city of Temple, and I know y'all do at heart. And when this comes back up, and it will come back up, this company has spent too much money out there to walk away. They put in weighing scales, driveways. They did a tremendous amount of work. I'm very concerned about this rock quarry because they use dynamite to blow out the rock. Well, when you start using dynamite, it shakes the earth. And when the earth shakes, it puts cracks in your house. And I would entertain a motion by y'all that when if this ever does pass, that you have this company come out and video everybody's home. Because I'm going to video my home. And I'm going to keep this video on file. And when crack starts in my house, I will stand in the court of law. I sincerely hope that y'all will continue to vote this down, even though they have pulled their motion to do this rock quarry. Appreciate y'all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Anyone else wish to comment? Dwayne
Natchez, and I live at 1278 Frederick Lane, in the woods of Cedar Oaks. I represent the homeowners association out there. Some 120 home sites in that subdivision that is built out there. And we've been through, this whole process and talked about some of the things the negatives, with very few positives with this quarry, where since the city has annexed this land for Foresight, and as during the planning and zoning meeting, one of the members, Mr. Stotts, made the comment, people follow water, just like the Indians did. And the lake is out there. We try to keep the lake beautiful. This project will not beautify that lake if it ever happens to come through. So in the future, I think we all want to find a way to put this to bed for forever. But the biggest thing that, and I don't know if it's been stressed enough, is the safety issue on 36. Texdot went out there and looked at the area and said this would be 100-foot turn lane would be sufficient. But again, we've learned a lot. This began as a group. We've banded together and learned a lot more about what occurs. And the amount of truck traffic that will be on 36 and I understand that there's a plan in place, beginning of a plan in place to put the new high school for Belton in that area, which will increase the traffic on 317 and 36 because the kids from our subdivision go to Belton. So that'll mean a lot more traffic out there with trucks running from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm sorry, but 100 feet is enough room for one truck. What happens when the second truck comes? Where's he going to go? So again, I think we're happy in the decision that the landowner and the mining company made. But again, I trust them just about as far as I can throw them. Again, they put some money into that area towards the mining aspect, and I think some of that stuff was done premature before they had their ducks in a row. So we just need to find a way to finalize it, and if that's a possibility, we need help from the city to do that. We appreciate so much you guys listening to all of our comments. We appreciate the Planning and Zoning Committee and your leadership. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wishing to comment? Seeing no one else wishing to comment, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our council meeting this evening. I wish each and every one of you a very, very happy holiday season and Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. We are adjourned.